It's time for another round of the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage. I'm Sam Wiederhaft. We're in the heat of baseball season right now, and today we're headed out to the Palace. The Coastal pitching staff has been absolutely insane this season, and the pitcher with the most experience is our guest on this episode. Sunday starter Riley Eikhoff is in the middle of his fourth season, and so far it's been his best yet. Currently sitting with a 2.47 ERA through 8 starts, Riley talks us through what improvements he made for this year, his mentality on the mound, and what it's been like working with new pitching coach Matt Williams. So let's go out to the Palace and hear my conversation with starting pitcher Riley Eikhoff. When you think Sunday Scaries, you think of this guy, starting pitcher Riley Eikhoff. Appreciate the time, man. Thanks for coming on the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage today.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Team is 21-8 right now, coming off a 2-week road trip. Beat up on Campbell on Tuesday. Just tell me how you and the team are feeling right now.
We're feeling pretty good. Obviously we noticed the success that we've had this season, but we're all very humble. Just keeping our head down, getting to work, keep moving forward.
You are the anchor of this starting pitching staff, the Sunday starter, and the stats of some of the latest games of the starting pitchers have just been insane. No walks allowed through the last 4 games. How dialed in are you guys as a staff right now?
We're pretty dialed. I'd say so. If you look at the stats, I say we do. We're performing pretty well, but we're not really focused on that. Our one goal is to win games. And as a starting staff, our goal is to get us into games late. So, past the 5th inning. And I think we've done a pretty good job of achieving that goal so far.
There were a lot of changes coming into 2025. The biggest one, new head coach Kevin Schnall, who's been with this program for a while. Another big one, new pitching coach Matt Williams coming from South Carolina. Tell me what it's like, working with him and how he's made you guys better.
Yeah, getting a new pitching coach it's always difficult at first because you got to get through that awkward stage of you're meeting people. How is he going to be as a coach? How am I going to react to that? How is he going to react to us as players? But when he came in, it was an instant click. Everyone fell in love with him. He was high energy, really motivated, really wanted to get to work, and was really pushing all the guys to get better at certain things. And guys have gotten better. Guys that haven't performed in the past are performing extremely well right now, and it's super fun to see. And I'm thankful that he's part of this staff, and he's doing great things. And I think great things are to come. He's going to be here for a while.
You talk about getting better. You're in the middle right now. Your final season, 4th year pitching in the program, in the middle of your best season right now. It was a 5 even ERA last year. You're at 2.44 this season. Just tell me about what's been different for you this year.
I had meetings with our coaches. Every year we have meetings with our coaches, actually. But the one thing that they really stuck on was consistency throughout a season. There's moments where mentally I wouldn't be focused, and my performances would, go kind of like a wave, kind of up and down. But their challenge to me was to stay focused throughout a whole season and, stay humble with myself. Don't get too excited or too down on yourself if anything happens. And I think, I've worked with our mental guy, Mike Cruz, a lot. He's done a lot to help me, stay mentally focused and stay humble with myself and just continue to work hard. And I think that's the big key thing that has helped me.
Every time I talk to Coach Schnall, he always mentions the spin on your ball just looks so much better from last year to this year. Well, what's been some of those things that you've kind of worked through and tried to, meet those goals as far as getting the spin up and making those pitches move a lot more?
When Gilly was our coach, my first year, I was out of the bullpen, and I was throwing harder back then. It's funny to think about.
Yeah.
But the ball didn't look like it was coming out hard. And he always told me, he's like, you gotta get stronger because you died out halfway through the season. Strength-wise, the ball just wasn't coming out as good, and that really stuck with me. And the past 3 years, it's been my goal to just, make sure I hit the weight room, make sure that I'm strong in all the areas that I need to be strong in. And, it's progressed every year and just happens to be, this year it's actually finally come together.
Yeah. Pitchers differ, different personalities on the mound. What's your kind of personality on the mound? Are you like a bulldog out there? Are you, kind of aggressive? Like, how would you describe your composure?
Mentally within myself, I'm kind of a, bulldog or, kind of cocky person. I think every baseball player needs that side of them to where, if you're a competitor, you're going to have that cocky side to you. The key is to, stay humble with on the outside. And so I want to hold myself professionally, but mentally and inside speaking to myself, I got that cockiness kind of thing going on. But, I don't want to portray that. I want to be a good person. I want to be professional when I play. But everyone needs that, that mental edge, so to say.
How do you kind of flip that switch? How does that mode for you turn on once you, get into the game and get going?
So talking to Mike Cruz over the years, we've actually come up with, systems that, if you listen to mental coaches, they'll say, you need a cue or something to, lock in. A lot of people, like hitters, if they swing and miss on a pitch that they shouldn't have swung and miss on, they'll step out, their cues fixing their batting gloves, or they'll find something in the stands. They'll a lot of people look at the top of the foul pole. Because every stadium has a foul pole. So, they look at that. For me, I tend to start getting into that game mode when I get into the locker room and I change. So once my street clothes come off, my uniform comes on, that's my cue for me to just lock in mentally. And then, it just progresses throughout my warm-up. I'm not fully locked in until I start doing my plyos or throwing. That's when I, get into that game mode.
Are you one of those starting pitchers that on start day you're like, don't talk to me, stay away, or what's kind of your game day composure there?
Before my outing, I'm usually I'm a mix of both. There's times where, I want to lock in more than usual, just because, I don't know, I'm feeling something different, want to lock in. And then there's days where I'm loose, just hanging out with the guys, having a good time. But when game time happens, I'm that guy that don't talk to me. I'll say something, but mentally I'm not listening to you, if I'm being honest. It's funny, the team has come up, they call me Emperor Palpatine because, I sit at the end of the dugout with a hoodie on with my hood up, and everyone says I'm the old guy, so I look like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. And I got a little laugh out of that, but I like to lock in, stay focused. Just be with myself.
I love that. It's intimidating too. It gives you that intimidating factor as well. You mentioned you're the old guy, the most experienced starter on this staff. Your fourth year in the program. How much of a leadership role do you think you've kind of taken this season?
As a vocal leader, I try not to be that. For me, I feel like I'm not a very vocal person, and sometimes the things I say aren't usually what I mean. So I try to lead by example. That being said, I hold myself to a very high standard when I'm doing my work, or doing my routines and all that stuff. And I want to make sure that, even when no one's watching, I still want to hold myself to that high standard. But even when people are watching, I want them to notice, this guy's a hard worker. I want to be like that, getting my work in, being focused, doing 100% when I need to be.
I think a big leadership moment for you was a couple of weeks ago. It was March 15th against Georgia Southern, and you go 6 2/3 in that game, and you really push for Matt Joyce to come in and finish that game out. He's a guy that hasn't pitched since 2022, has gone through a lot of injury problems. Tell me how that moment kind of came to be about.
Yeah, so Joyce has been battling injuries for he hasn't played in over 1,000 days since that last outing. And me and him, we came in same class. We've been together all 5 years that we've been here. We've both redshirted, both in our 5th year now. And he was cleared to play for about 2 weeks before that and never got the chance. So I was pitching, doing well, and our hitters ended up scoring a lot of runs at some point in the game. And I was sitting down at the end of the dugout just thinking to myself, I was like, this is the moment Joyce goes in, kind of thing. And no one was talking about it, and I figured someone else would go into the game. So I don't know if Williams was thinking this or not. I called him over and I said, hey, if it gets to a certain point, I want Joyce to go in after me. And so he said okay to it. And I thought he was going to go in that last inning, the 7th inning. I thought he was going to start it and go the full inning. But Williams never said anything to me, never said I was out of the game yet. So I just went out there, did my thing. And, after the first out, I looked in the dugout, was like, is he coming in? And he pointed at the hitter. He said, all right, one more.
Yeah.
And so we got that last guy, or that second guy, out of the inning. And I looked in, and I saw him put his clipboard down and start walking out. And, that was the happiest moment that I've had this entire year. Joyce and I have been friends for 5 years, 6 years now. We've been through, pardon my language, we've been through hell together. Mm-hmm. Both being injured, both battling through it, recovering. He's had 2 Tommy Johns, so he's gone through a lot. And, being so close to him, seeing him get that moment, it's in the video, but I couldn't hold back, just pure joy, just seeing him run out there. I was holding back tears. Some people were holding back tears. I was too. I was like, man, this is my good friend here that's rode with me since the beginning is finally getting his chance after, battling so many injuries and just fighting so hard for that chance. It was just awesome.
I think that says a lot about you and who you are, that your happiest moment of the year was for somebody else and getting their chance to come back. And it was obviously a great moment for Coastal fans to see Matt Joyce back out there and pitching and healthy. We're talking with Chanticleer starting pitcher Riley Eikhoff on the Chant Pod, presented by Revolution Mortgage. They call him Ike, one of the best nicknames on the team. Tell me what it's like working with Caden Bodine.
Oh, man. Working with Caden, it's honestly, it's a pleasure. The dude is one of the most professional people that I've ever met. He holds himself to a completely different standard than, everyone on this team. We all have those high standards. He holds himself to an even better standard. Mm-hmm. Like he'll hit a line drive or, a ground ball at 110, 115 miles an hour, and he's over at first base pissed off with himself. And I'm just like, dude, you just barreled that ball. That ball was hit hard.
Yeah.
He's hit the ball hard, but, it's been right at people most of the time. But, it's playing with someone of that caliber, it only makes us look better.
Right.
Right. He makes us pitchers look so good. And, we got to give, a lot of credit to him for, our performances, because he's been out there battling every game for us, and he does a lot for us.
What are those mound visits like? When he's trying to get you guys on the same page, bring me into that mound visit and what happens there.
Yeah. So, we'll give a situation, say there's, runners on, you were cruising, and then, some damage happens to you, get a couple runners on, he'll come out and, as a pitcher, you're kind of frustrated with yourself. He'll come out and he'll just, I'm just giving you a breather and have a normal conversation. He'll crack a joke or something, try and make you laugh. I sympathize with him when I'm out there because, I'm not a fun person when I'm doing bad kind of thing. But he goes out there. He does a good job with all of our pitchers. He understands who we are as people, knows what needs to be said and what doesn't need to be said, knows how to get us back in that zone.
I always love hearing about the mound visits because, as a fan, as a broadcaster, you have no idea what's going on out there.
Nope.
And just to be able to get guidance from a guy that is going to go in the first round next year has got to be something really cool to be a part of.
It is.
We talked about your experience in this program. How have you seen yourself grow, on the mound, off the field, from 2022 to where we're at now?
I think the biggest growth was my maturity and, my work ethic and my work. I came in as an injured, had TJ coming into Coastal. So my first year I didn't play. I wasn't around the guys as much as I would have liked. So I kind of, I pushed away a little bit, and I didn't grow like I needed to. And so, my work ethic and my maturity, declined a little bit. And having conversations with, Gilly, Schnall, Coach Bev, and all them in the past, even Williams this year, it's helped my confidence and my maturity to, not look at the result and be confident in my routine and my preparation to every game and every day, honestly. And I think that's the biggest thing that, I've learned over the past years.
You see where we're doing this interview from out in right center field. The Palace is great. Springsburg Stadium's incredible. What have been some of your favorite things about just pitching at this place with all the fans and all the support of Teal Nation?
The fans make the stadium, if I'm being honest. If there was no fans, the stadium wouldn't be anything. Wouldn't be known as the Palace. The fans coming out, it adds a certain level of excitement to every game. Wake Forest last year, even this year, we didn't do too good this year, but the fans were out, they supported, and we love that. We need them out here, if I'm being honest. Against Campbell, they came out. When a player walks out of that tunnel and into that dugout, and they see the 35 to 5,000 fans sitting in the stands, you get goosebumps. You get excited. Like, you want to get out on that field. You want to play for them. You want to give the fans something to come back and watch, and make them. Their money is worth coming. Give them a great game to watch. Something to just be excited about.
And getting the many standing ovations that you've gotten after your starts over the years, it's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah. Standing ovation, you try and be humble, but every person on the inside is feeling it like, wow, that's pretty cool. You don't show it, obviously, but, when you look up and you see everyone standing up, giving you clapping for you, it's just, like I said earlier, you get goosebumps. It's awesome to see. There's so much that these fans give us that you want to go out there and you want to perform for them, and then when you see them, give some gratitude back when you do well. Even when you do bad, sometimes they're out there clapping for you, standing for you. It's great to see.
Riley, growing up, was there an MLB pitcher that you watched that you kind of wanted to emulate?
Growing up, there was two players that I watched. I really wanted to be a third baseman or a shortstop, so I watched Chipper Jones.
All right.
I was born in Atlanta, so I'm a big Braves fan. Unfortunately, they're not doing too good this year.
Yeah.
But big Braves fan. I watched Chipper Jones. I would imitate him in the living room while he's playing. I would dress up as him as Halloween. And then once I started pitching, I went to another famous Braves pitcher, Greg Maddux. Everyone says, I kind of throw like him.
I've heard that before. That's pretty incredible.
A lot of people say that I throw like him, and it's kind of cool to hear because he's the professor. Yeah, dude could do anything with any ball that he got, throw it wherever he wanted it, move it like any way he wanted it to, and to sometimes be side by side with him. It's kind of cool to hear. But yeah, I love watching his videos. I watch his documentary like every month, kind of thing. That's the type of pitcher that I want to be.
I think my favorite Greg Maddux video is when he pranks Chris Bryant, and he's like the photographer on the TV crew.
Pretty good.
Oh my gosh, man, that's incredible.
Funny.
That's incredible. When you're not playing ball, when you're not here at the Palace, where can we find it? What are you doing? What are some of your hobbies?
I like spending time with my fiance. That's a good time. We do a lot of things. We try and find date nights whenever we can. She plays lacrosse here at Coastal. She's also in her 5th year. So, we're both athletes. It's difficult finding that time to hang out with each other. So whenever we do, we try and have those date nights kind of thing. And then if I'm not with her, I'm playing golf with the guys or my family. Golf is a big thing in our family. We all love playing it. And then if I'm not playing golf, my dad was in the military, my brother's in the military now. And, we're big, gun family, so we like to go shoot at the range, have a little fun with each other, kind of thing like that. But those are kind of things that, tend to do on off days.
With all your experience in college baseball, what's some advice that you'd have to a younger player or a younger pitcher that wants to do what you're doing now?
Some advice. I think the best advice that I got was, Schnall said it to the whole team. It's after every win that we have, he says that's a great win. You guys did a great job. Be excited that you're doing a great job. but be humble, keep your head down, and just keep moving forward, keep doing the work. As a baseball player, you learn, like I said earlier, you have those struggles where if you get too high, game's gonna take you down quick.
Yeah.
So just being humble, staying even keel through the whole year. I think that's the biggest advice I could give someone.
Riley, I'll close it off with this one, but you're obviously off to a fantastic season right now. Team's playing great. And what do you guys have to do to just keep this momentum going throughout the season to make 2025 a really special year?
I think just continuing to be us. I think one thing that is helping us is we're being genuine, being ourselves when we're out there. Morrison is a very animated person. Like he loves, he has that competitive edge so high that, he can't hold back his emotions when he's on the mound. Mm-hmm. And, I love seeing that out of him. We have a couple other guys that are like that. And, just when players are being themselves on the field, they tend to play better. Mm. And I think, we just need to keep being us to continue the success that we've had so far.
You can catch this guy being himself on the mound on Sundays for Coastal Carolina. Big series this weekend with Arkansas State. We hope to see you at the Palace. Riley, really appreciate your time on the Chant Pod.
Appreciate you having me on.
That was a really fun conversation. Sitting out in right center field, talking with one of the best pitchers in the conference in the middle of batting practice, nothing better. Thanks to Riley for coming on and giving us an inside look at this pitching staff. The Chants stand at 24-9 for the season after a win at UNCW on Tuesday. They'll be in Atlanta this weekend for a 3-game set with Georgia State on Friday at 6, Saturday at 2, and Sunday at 1. Softball is back at home against Georgia State this weekend at St. John Stadium with games on Friday at 6, Saturday at 2, and Sunday at 1 o'clock from Conway. Men's tennis wraps up their regular season at home on Sunday against Georgia Southern for Senior Day, and women's tennis takes on Old Dominion in Virginia on Friday. And track and field is spending 3 days in Durham at the Duke Invitational from Thursday to Saturday. We'll close up this week's episode right there. Thanks again to Riley Eikhoff for meeting us at the Palace. Can't wait to see how the rest of his season shakes out. We'll be back next week with more Teal Nation content, but for now, I'm Sam Wiederhaft signing off. Chants up.